What's happening, guys? Tonight, I would like to talk about Absolute Superman number 17. Just finished this issue here, and I really enjoyed it. Uh, every time I pick this book up, I'm glad that I came back to it after throwing in the towel on reading it initially. It has been one of my favorite reads in the Absolute Universe, and I'll go ahead and get this issue started, start talking about it. Basically, what we have here is the introduction of the Absolute Parasite. So essentially what we have is Parasite is on a rampage throughout Metropolis, and this time the Parasite, instead of just being one person like we see him in mainline DC Universe, he is kind of like just some, kind of like a like the Blob, actually, kind of like the Blob mixed with the entity from Carpenter's The Thing, where it possesses people, and it kind of keeps them, like right here we see these are all people that have been like assimilated by the Parasite, and we see all the bodies here are just entrapped inside of the Blob. We see Jimmy. He has got all the tentacles, the tendrils, or whatever you want to call it, from the Blob coming out of his face, out of his eyes, out of his mouth, and he's telling Lois, "Kill me." Kind of like you would see like in Aliens, when the people are pinned up against the wall, saying, "Kill me, put me out of my misery." Lois says that she can't, so she dives off this pier to try and escape, only to be picked up by the Parasite and all his little different tentacles. Now, we had last week, or not last week, so, this is like a really cool overhead shot, like a sky type shot we see of the Parasite, how it's just this huge kaiju looking thing starting to spread out. So Hawkman introduced himself to Superman last issue, and he was literally the worst Hawkman, that is. Literally one of the worst characters I've ever seen in my entire life. He's so offensive, he's so aggressive, and, such a shit kicker. Like right here we see Superman. He says, "There's so many screams, I can't focus. It ain't rocket science, kid. Focus on the giant monster." Just like a huge prick. And he takes off and he flies and punches a Hawkman, that is. He takes off and flies and punches a hole right through the Parasite. And the Parasite roars and screams. And Superman tells him, "Hey, there's people trapped inside of here." And Hawkman basically says, "Well, I don't care. Those people are going to be dead anyway if we don't stop that thing." And he says, "Get out of my way. I won't tell you again." So, Absolute Hawkman, so far, his experience has just been, or his character has just been a huge jerk. Just a huge, "I'm old man, I've been doing this for a long time, listen to me, what you're doing is wrong." And what we know from Absolute Superman, what we've read and learned about him so far, is he really wants to do things a different way. He's almost like John Kent in the mainline DC Universe, where he doesn't really want to choose violence first, especially if there's innocence involved. We've seen Absolute Superman. We've seen him go to war against the Peacemakers and the Lazarus Corporation or whatever, but that was more in a defense of people that were getting exploited than just, taking the fight to them. But we have a cool scene right here where Talia al Ghul, she shows up to break Raish out of prison, and Raish tells her, you shouldn't have come here. Just leave me be. And what we saw is this is kind of a carryover scene from 2 issues ago, I believe it was, in which Clark Superman set out to rehab Ra's al Ghul, and he did it with kindness by visiting him every day, reading and talking to him, and trying to learn more about Raish, and just those two meeting and learning each other. And basically he was able to kind of, I don't want to say deprogram Ra's al Ghul, but basically kind of get him to kind of walk back all of his ways that he had, kind of come to see the error of all his ways, so to speak. Here we see Clark has found Lois, and he's pulled her out of the Parasite. And Lois kind of tells him what her experience is in being inside. She says, "Those people may look like they're sleeping, but they're trapped inside a nightmare. The Parasite wants you at your most terrified, your body pumping itself full of adrenaline and endorphins, and that's how it guzzles your energy." But Lois tells Clark here, and this is really one of the best parts about the whole book. She goes, "I heard your voice, felt you near. I knew that Superman was there with me, fighting for me no matter what. That's all it took. That's how you saved me. So all I have to do is make every living thing in Metropolis feel the same." And of course, Hawkman, who just wants to solve everything with violence, he goes, "That's impossible, And then Hawkman says, "Your boyfriend is some kind of moron, Lane." And Lois, who's had it up to here, she goes, "Of course you'd say that, Hall. In a world full of assholes, your king asshole of, Expletive Mountain, I'll make sure he knows who you are by the way, and every last damn awful thing you've done, just stay the hell away from him." So Lois is kind of gotten fed up with the way that Hawkman is talking down to Superman and belittling him. He's so cocky, and I hate that about him. He goes, "Sweetheart, we both know I could give him all day, and it would have made a lick of difference. If history has shown us anything, it's that flashes in the pan like your twinkle toed Superman can't even save themselves." So Hawkman, so old, so stuck in his ways, so refusal to change. Clark here, he approaches the Parasite. He says, "Hi, I'm Kal-El of Krypton. I don't know if you're hurting these people on purpose or if you're just hungry, but it has to stop." And then he gets blasted or gets these tentacle things hooked into him, which automatically we see this huge increase in the size of the Parasite, just from instantly beginning to taste all of Superman's energy, so to speak. And Lois is talking to Kal-El. She goes, "Kal, you can do this. You have no idea what sort of effect you have on people. Just let them see you. Just be yourself." And because Clark, I keep saying Clark, even though he doesn't really have a Clark identity, at least not to Lois yet, but y'all know who I'm talking about. So, you see him with all these strands attached to him, and they're all kind of interwoven. It's like a giant hive mind type of situation. And he reaches out, Kal-El does, and he encounters Hawkman, and he tells Hawkman, you're just panicking, you're afraid, you're scared of everything. And he tells him, he goes, right now I'm doing the same for you that I'm doing for all 2,779,388 people here in Metropolis, even all the animals. So he says, I'm trapped in here, just like your mind. I'm trapped here. I'm trapped in here, just like you. Our minds linked by the parasite's nervous system. So it's like a giant hive mind type deal, like we've seen in different other types of movies and whatever. And still, Hawkman won't stop. He still keeps telling him, everything about you is wrong. You're just a child. You don't have any idea how this world works. You don't know what it takes. And finally, Superman is fed up with it. And then we see all of the feedback from Superman's positive energy that he sent off basically cause Parasite to explode, for lack of a better term, and it frees everybody, and everyone's talking amongst themselves. He was there with me. The power of his voice, it made me think and know that it would be okay. Hawkman says, How the hell did you do that? I don't know. I'm Superman. Just a great answer right there. Because I don't know exactly how I did it. I just know that I did it because I'm Superman. And then like I said, he still won't let it go. All I heard was mumbling. Talk like a man. What did you say? It's like, God, dude, come on. Stop, Hawkman. Let it go. Then we have another little interlude right here with Ra's al Ghul and Talia. Talia says, Father, my distraction won't last forever. We have to go now. Yes, Talia, I'm coming. And then this is a really cool part. Apologies, Superman, but we are who we are. And I think that's really cool because that shows that Ra's had chosen a different path. He had chosen to do his time in jail. He realized the mistakes he had made and seen to err of his ways, like I said. But he couldn't be left alone. Talia had to show up. She had to break him out of jail. And after a while, he's forced back into the role that he had. So that's a really cool scene right there. So even though he had a chance at redemption, they wouldn't let him be. Talia and everybody else, they would not let him be. So here, meanwhile, back in Metropolis, they've got a piece of the Brainiac organism. Superman said he's going to keep it back at the Fortress of Solitude, or whatever you want to call it. And he has final words here with Hawkman. And he tells him what we didn't see while they were inside of Brainiac. He goes, I know who you work for. I want you to give them a message. Lazarus and everyone else you know who's like them. You tell them I don't sleep. And nothing they have can hurt me. And you tell them that I am coming. And he says, the way of this world was written in stone. That's what you said. Like it was something immutable. Afraid of a bit of stone when all this time you could move mountains. Tell the people that you work for that I'm not you, Hall. Tell them Superman's not for sale. And then Hawkman calls Talia al Ghul up and says, hey, we've got a problem here. Which I really like this scene right here. He's basically telling Hawkman, I'm not going to do things the way that you've done them. I'm not here for the Peacemakers, for Lazarus, for Talia al Ghul, for Ra's al Ghul. Basically, we're doing things differently now. And I have more power than any of y'all have, and there's nothing y'all can do to stop me. Which I think is really cool because, like I said, we've seen Absolute Superman. The difference here between this Superman and the mainline Superman is he remembers a Krypton before it blew up. He remembers what it was like, how it went to hell, and how nobody lifted a finger to stop it. And since he's landed here on Earth, he's seen the same things, and he's become very desperate to prevent Earth from being on that same fast track that Krypton was. Then we have this little last couple of part here where Lex Luthor and Brainiac showed up at Lex Luthor's house, and he basically was trying to recruit Lex Luthor, and as we see, there's blood all over the place. There's blood on Brainiac. There's blood on the wall. Lex is strapped up, eyes forced to be open. And Brainiac tells him before he leaves, he says, "Seize this opportunity, Lex Luthor. I beg of you, make yourself interesting until we meet again." And we see what he's left. He has left Lex alive, wife dead, and looks like numerous kids dead right here floating in the pool. And then that is the wrap up to this issue. The Never Ending Begins finale all together now. This was a really cool 2-part story, basically, which introduced Absolute Parasite, had Hawkman meet Superman. So a very cool little 2-part story, but yet one that showed us a ton about our characters, showed us Superman establishing more of himself in Metropolis now, more of Brainiac and Lex Luthor's interactions. So just another solid issue of Absolute Superman from Jason Aaron. And like I said, I really recommend this one. It doesn't get as much of the conversation as Absolute Batman does, but it still manages to carry its own weight. So till next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good night. Bye-bye.